Come on, guys, we'll get started. So we just seen, right? What are the different ways to use your build pipeline? So one can be your self-hosted agents. That means you can deploy, you can select your own server in your on-premise server, or you can also create one virtual machine on Azure cloud or any other place, and you can go and configure your agent. We will see how we configure. The other way is you can use the built-in feature that is nothing but Microsoft Azure pipelines hosted agent. You call it as a hosted agent that will be created as part of your build pipeline. You do not have any visibility into that one. So we will talk about some scenarios where you should go about where you should go with self-hosted agent. That means our own server or Microsoft hosted agent that is being maintained by the Microsoft Azure itself. Okay, there are we already talked about some performance etc. or maybe some other reasons, some technical reasons, whatever it is. Okay, and so these are the different things what we will be using, like tasks, variables, triggers, and build retention. Here, the most important thing is tasks, variables, and triggers. Okay, this task. This is a place where you are automating your manual tasks. So each and every activity, what you do in a manual way, is a task in your build automation. Here, from now onwards, we will call it as a build pipeline because this is a Azure terminology. So I don't call it as a CL, I call it as a build pipeline. Okay, and on the build pipeline, when I enable the trigger continuous integration, then I will call it as a continuous integration. That means mostly you check in some code, the developer check in some code, the build will start. Or you can schedule every night at 12 o'clock, you want to start the build automatically. So that is also called a trigger. So you have various triggers like that. So if I want every commit, I can go ahead and go to the triggers option and enable it. So we will see in action while we are going. So first, let's understand what you're going to do in the next session so that you will have a clarity. Okay, after this, what I'm going to do. After this, what I'm going to do. So the next one is that's about build pipeline. But what exactly you will be doing in build pipeline? Okay. So the very first thing is you need to have the code repository. Without that, you cannot do anything. So we are using Azure repos. We connect our build pipeline to the Azure repos. We have the database project and repository. We will connect to that one. If you are having some other thing, we can do that one as well. While I'm creating the build pipeline, we can see all those options. Okay. If it is other than your Azure repos, it's all about giving the URL of some other system and credentials, user ID, password. Basically, these vendors give you the documentation how you need to connect. You just need to follow the design. Okay, and there won't be any software installation required to connect to any other system. We will show them. And the next thing, you need to set up the environment, right? So we talked about, okay, you have the code and you need to have the environment in order to run your build. That means your .NET build. You need to have the .NET runtime installed. If it is a Java, you need to have the Java runtime installed, and then you need to have the .NET framework, etc. These are the minimal things. Even for Java as well, you need minimal things. Okay. Basically, this environment setup is already done for you. Okay, for the deployment purpose. For the build purpose also, if you are using your own server, you have to go and set up that server as well with all these prerequisites. If you don't set up prerequisites, obviously it will give you warnings or errors and you will go and install it. So that is the setup environment. And dependency management. Okay, this is mostly related to the developers because you don't do any code changes, right? Dependency management means they might be using some third-party libraries or utilities, etc. So there are a number of ways for them to use those things in their environment. Okay, and if they are using any public sources, etc. Sometimes what happens from your build pipeline, it may not have access to that the external APIs or something. If you get into such kind of issues, we need to look into the logs, and if it is a problem from your end, you will resolve it. Otherwise, you will provide the logs to the your if it is a physical environment, you will give that error to your network administrator, saying that I'm not able to access it. If there is some code related issue, the developers will look into the logs and see it actually. So basically here dependency management is related to NuGet. So NuGet, basically it contains all the libraries. Let us say in my organization, I created one reusable component. Instead of putting that reusable component in some file share and giving access to multiple people, what I do, I'll keep that reusable component in my NuGet repository, so that it's in central location, everybody will use it. This is a best practice in terms of development. It's not related to the DevOps. So and then build your project. If you are having multiple projects in a solution, you will build it actually. So basically, you are building. That means you have thousands of lines of code or hundreds of code files. When you build it here internally, to use MS Build. If you're using tools like Jenkins or something, right? Jenkins or Bamboo, since those are open source, you have to explicitly mention use MS Build. Okay, use Maven. But since you are using a tool here, it's not open source, right? It is a paid version. The whole intention is to make it easier for you. Okay. The moment you select some template for your .NET or Java, it will get you all those prerequisites. Okay. We will show you, because you need to know actually. You never know. Probably in the future you may work on Jenkins. You never know. If you know the concepts and the steps, then applying these things is just a matter of learning the tool, and the concepts are similar. And then what's the next one? Unit test cases. You need to execute your unit test cases. For that, the developer should have already written those unit test cases. We will see how we will run that unit test case. It is also another project. I mean, it's like your regular project where you have the functionality. This is unit test cases, another .cs project, but you are writing test cases rather than the functionality. And then code coverage. So we use tools like SonarQube, and we integrate that SonarQube with your build pipeline to ensure that your code is of high quality as per your standards. And we will also ensure that code coverage means you written 10 lines of code. Okay, let's not talk about the code actually. You developed some three functionalities: login functionality, logout functionality, and some home page, right? The testers will go and test all those three features, right? If they don't test one of those things, then you say the test coverage is less. They did not cover one test case. I mean, right? In the same way, you written 10 lines of code. That means as a developer, you should have the unit test case to cover all those lines of code what the developer is written. Otherwise, you may get some into issues. Of course, if it is a simple coding, you may not get into issues. But if you are having complex coding written hundreds and thousands of methods, interlinking, you need to have the unit test cases. Otherwise, you will get into regression issues. You will not be able to find it. The testers will be able to find it out. And sometimes it may be difficult for them as well. So unit test cases plays a major role here. And the code coverage is which ensures that whatever the number of lines code the developer written are having respect to unit test cases. So for that we use the SonarQube and code quality gate. Let us say I want to put some thresholds basically. Okay, this guy written some number of lines of code, but this is not as per the standards, coding standards defined by Microsoft, because every vendor will have their own standards. So if it is not as per the standards, coding standards given by Microsoft, I probably fail that way. I say this is not correct. Of course, your application work, but it will be having some issues in future. It might be susceptible to your hacking, or it may be having some performance issues, memory issues, whatnot. It can be anything. We can't say anything. And in the code quality gate, another thing is, let us say, I will say code quality gate threshold should be 80%. What does it mean is, if I written 100 lines of code, at least for 80 lines of code, I should have the unit test cases. If it doesn't have, then your build will fail. Of course, we need to configure it. We need to do all those configuration settings. That we do it again. This code coverage, code quality, etc. using Sonar. And finally, we done all these checks. We done it. Now you will package it. So you will get some DLL, CXCs, and everything. We will package it. So to do all these things, there are two different ways in Azure pipelines. One is using your classic editor, which is wizard based. Another one is some people like to do it from the script file. It's a JSON. Basically, it is a YAML actually. We don't use the YAML here. If you are interested in learning YAML, basically learning YAML is different because the YAML will be used for your Kubernetes, for your Dockers, for your pipelines, not only for this one also. Yeah, it will be used everywhere. This is very famous. It's simple JSON script actually. You need to have an in-depth knowledge. First, you need to learn it. Many people, what they do, if they want to create some pipeline, right, they simply go to the Google and copy paste it. It will work. But what if you have to do the customization? And again, we need to go with the trend actually. See, this is all about the productivity, right? So the moment you start using ML, right, if you don't have the in-depth experience, your productivity will be very less. By the time the developers finish their development, you don't even finish your pipeline. Okay. So my even in my companies or in my previous companies, we go with the classic. There are hardly 5-10% people who use ML, and even in online also you see people use ML, but you don't know whether that they are using it for the production purposes or not, right? Okay, but certainly if you are using Kubernetes, you will use ML. Okay, but not for this. Okay, but if you still want to learn, right, there are two ways: reverse engineering, right? You create your pipeline. Basically in the back end, your pipeline is automatically creating your YAML actually. So what you do for your uh, easy learning purpose, right, you create a task or you create a build pipeline and you go and check the respective lines written by your and those YAML files created by your build pipeline is ready to use. I mean, you don't need to make any changes. So what you can do, you can go ahead and create another new project. Whatever is generated here, you can simply copy paste and go ahead. Okay. But again, see, you have 10 DevOps engineers in your team. Let us say I'm a DevOps architect. I want all the people to use a classic editor only. And if someone wants to use YAML, I will tell them to use for the demonstration purpose, not for it. Because for me, my productivity is important. For your learning, utilize the features available here and apply this when you are learning Kubernetes or Dockers. That will help you. So that's why I just don't want to skip that one. You have two ways, but we use a classic editor, which is wizard based. So we'll talk about some more fundamentals and then we get into the lab sessions basically. So how do you connect to, connect to code repository, right? That is the first step. So you remember those steps what we seen in the this slide, right, are same irrespective of the tool what you use. You use the Jenkins, you use Bamboo, you use Teamcity, you use Octopus, what's not, or you use a IBM. What is there is a rationalize something is there. IBM also having one tool that is also that is for the test cases actually. So there is a name that is also famous. Okay, but most of the people don't use it because that's expensive. Because all IBM products are expensive. So there is one tool from IBM as well. No, no, no. I will tell you. I don't remember as of now. Okay, so they also have it. Code repository, these are very famous. There's a Bitbucket or Git, if it is Microsoft TFS. Now Microsoft bought this Git. Now they also use it. Even for their internal product development as well, they are using nowadays Git because they bought it, right? Now they can make any changes what they want. So these are the different repositories that you can connect from the Azure build pipeline. So it supports, you can connect to your TFS, you can connect to external GitHub or Bitbucket, and even it supports the Subversion is the oldest one. This is one of the first version control management systems before even 15 years. Those days you used to have the VSS, Visual Source Set. which is an older version of TFS. So now this Azure DevOps even supports your subversion. Okay, I don't think anyone using. I mean, there are hardly people using 1-2% or 10, not even 10%, because they started long time ago. They don't have any, and also they don't have any improvements going on, any development going on. Why they should invest moving the code from there to here when there is no development? Because I recently seen one of my clients' projects, right? They have one small Java application residing in the subversion, a CVS actually, that is CVS. There is one more CVS. That is having only one page. Yeah, per force is there. But again, there is a vendor. Okay. That application is having only one page. Why should you invest creating some pipeline and moving that code to here? That's only for one page. So they're not moving. Let it be there. So it supports, I mean, your core repository connectors, your Azure build pipeline supports all these uh, core repositories. And the different steps, you just need to simply select your repository and your solution, whatever it is. That's it. And then in the environment setup is nothing but, we will be uh, we talked about self-hosted agents or Microsoft hosted. So this is that step actually. You will just go and select where you want to run your build agent. So, and then you need to configure. So your agent environment, if it is .NET, you use MS Build, Maven for Java, and so basically on the build agents, nothing but on your build servers, also need some lightweight version of your Visual Studio. I mean the build tools. It's not the full-fledged Visual Studio what you use. So those kind of things will be taken care by your agents. So there will be some parallel execution. Let us say you are having three different, so you might be having one database project, you might be having one code project in your build pipeline. You can make it parallel. I mean, again, if it is a Jenkins or something, you need to go and configure multiple servers and do a lot of settings for the parallel execution. Here, it is a simply 2 to 3 steps configuration. It will be taken care. And what is the dependency management? So it's all about downloading your reusable components shared by some external parties or internal parties. But of course, this is done by your development teams in their projects. But you will configure this in your build pipeline actually. So we will have the tasks like NuGet, etc. We will use them. So self-hosted agents and then build solution. Finally, we select our solution. This is another task. Each and every slide you can think of a task actually in your pipeline. Okay. So we will select the solution and then we configure the, MS build, etc. But the beauty here is when you have the either you can go ahead with a empty job, means where you do not have anything, you have to do everything. Okay. And you should be having expert experience. But you have the templates readily available. What these templates? Let us say I want to build some ASP.NET application. I have a ASP.NET application template. I can select. So what it contains, all the steps that are common for any type of MVC application will be there. Rest you have to do your thing as per your developer requirement actually. Okay, but this is a kickstart, right? You will save more than 1-2 hours in that one actually. End of the day, when you take even empty project, you will end up having those tasks in the build pipeline. And then, so we will set up few more properties. Finally, you have another task where you will run your test cases. So if it is .NET MS unit test cases, if it is Java, it is JUnit test cases, and if people use some other, there you have tens of languages, right? Based on the developers' preference, what they are using, we will have to set it up. So there are some test criteria, you can fail the build, etc. Or, you can say whatever is being executed already, don't execute them. Such kind of configurations you can put. It's all about to make your build faster. Okay, so there are some configurations you can do it. So, and end of the day, right, everybody needs a reporting, right? Okay, so if you're using open source tools, you have to configure your reporting stuff as well, how to email and what to be taken for the reporting purpose here. So since this is a PaaS platform, Azure DevOps, not only this one, if you use any PaaS platforms like Azure DevOps, right, they will have all these features. One such famous is a GitLab. You might have heard, it's not a Git actually. GitLab. GitLab is a company who created a PaaS service like Azure DevOps. And that is based on the Git actually, their version control system Git. And the way you have the pipelines here, in the similar way, they have some different naming convention. So that is another PaaS service for DevOps. This is another PaaS service for the DevOps. There also you don't need to do any installation configuration. Straight away you can go ahead and configure progress. Here also you do that. So GitLab is another famous, but not many people use, like, because it requires marketing as well, right? Microsoft does a lot marketing. So, and finally, for code coverage and quality gates, we do the SonarQube setup. Okay, and there are two versions of SonarQube. For the demonstration purpose, I use online SonarQube because I have so many things running on my laptop, and again, my laptop is not part of domain. Okay, this is my personal laptop, right? I'm running the Azure DevOps. If that has to connect with my laptop, I need to have my public IP address or something for my laptop. And again, it is some networking stuff. I need to install some third-party networking components and have the static IP assigned actually. If I do it, I get some virus or something. So I don't want to do it. So what I do, I use a SonarQube. For the deployments, we use some virtual machines on the uh, Azure cloud, and some can be on the cloud. I mean, there are multiple ways we will see, but I am not going to deploy to my local PC. SonarQube setup. So we will do SonarQube installation, and I will show it on my laptop because SonarQube installation is not a big deal. You download the SonarQube from the SonarQube website, and you will get both exe version or the zip version. If it is zip, unzip, and you have to set the Java environment variables, etc. That's it. It will be up and running. But if it is a cloud, the way you are using your PaaS, the SonarQube will be available. You just need to create your credentials and start using it. Even in the only difference is you go and install this in your local PC, then you don't go and install. And then we will integrate the SonarQube with our build pipeline for code quality, and I will show all these quality gates, profiles. There are many things you should know actually. And if you know these things, right, most of the times what happens, everybody will be able to talk about how to create a pipeline, how to deploy it, and some concepts, CI, CD, etc. But not many people know how to set up SonarQube, how to create quality gates and quality coverage, etc., etc. We will show all those things. And finally, you will publish. So we will be publishing these artifacts, I mean, from the build output, right? To Azure Pipelines is a repository that's built in your Azure Pipelines. It will be there. It will maintain all the versions as well. And you can mention how many days you want to retain your build out artifacts. So this is regular, right? Even if you're having any database, if you are a data DBA, there also you have some policies. How many days you want to have the old data? How many years of legacy data you want to have? Let us say they maintain some 10 years or 5 years data in their current databases. The rest of the data, they will move it to the some storage because otherwise it will hit the performance. Likewise. So in the same way here also you will have the build. It's a history, right? Over a period of time, you might have a 15, 20 builds for your application. Okay, I mean certainly you may want to retain last 5 bills or 4 bills, and the rest everything you can delete because it's unnecessary storage. Okay, your Azure DevOps is a free trial for 90 days. After that, everything is paid. Okay, your storage is now If it is a storage, right, it is pennies. It's hardly in the paisa, I would say. You don't, for all the projects, even for 10 GB also, you don't pay even 100 rupees. It's very cheap. Storage is cheap. What is expensive here is your compute. Compute means your virtual machines, the size of the virtual machine, and network is also very less. I mean, it's like storage on it. Network, you will get the incoming data, outgoing data. That is also not a deal. The most expensive thing, your compute power. So that's where they earn money. Storage, networking, all these things are done. That's why they give the Azure DevOps free of cost, because for 90 days, right? It's just a application, right? And it is not consuming much of your storage or compute. And when it creates your Azure virtual machines as well for the build pipeline, they create the minimum configuration virtual machine. Basically, if you go to Azure Cloud and create a virtual machine, I basically take a 4 GB RAM, the very standard general purpose VM for the demonstration. The monthly cost is some 5,000 rupees. Per hour, it comes to 4 hours or 4 rupees or 5 rupees. It's very cheap, so they don't need to consider. And they put some limit as well when you are using Azure DevOps. You can use only some. You see those limits in the project settings actually. You can have some 1800 minutes of parallel jobs. Means when you are running, so you go and click on one build, and you go to another tab, you click on one build, right? These are all parallelly running. It will count all these things actually. Yeah, these are default available. We can go to based on the subscription, the settings are done actually. But if you want more quota, right, you have to raise a support request. It will be there. I will show, because the way we done the Azure course, right? When we are going to, we have to go through all these settings. All these project settings have to be taken care.
Because yesterday I ordered for 1 year. They're charging $176 per month. It is in and
Okay. And Azure Cloud.
Initial setup, they're charging some $300.
This is a project purpose. Okay, basically, if it is Azure or AWS or any cloud, right? When you are selecting the virtual machine size itself, it will show that one actually. So the best practice here is, if it's the production servers, you need to run it for 24/7, 365. If it is a dev environment, the practice what we do, right? Because we will be running 50 servers or 20 servers for each project. All dev and QA will be shut down after the last person left the company, left the office. Or we will say, okay, most of the developers leave at 6 o'clock, let's shut down the servers by 7 o'clock. So there will be scripts running, scripts written, or you can schedule it as well, and they will be shut down. And the next day, 9 o'clock, see, you hardly spending another 10-15 minutes extra time, waiting time actually. But how much time we wasted? It is very less when compared to the amount you are spending actually. So if you're coming at 9 o'clock, what people do, the scheduled task will start at some 8:30. It will make the VMs up and running. So you are saving a cost of 12-13 hours a day. So there are, related to Azure Cloud Administration, but we'll see them. So these are the number of steps that are involved in the build pipeline. Okay. I will not get into the Sonar Cube now.
Azure Artifacts is Microsoft Code.
Yes. So this is one of the features that they included in Azure DevOps. When it was VSTS, they don't have this Azure Artifacts. Okay. Now they included this. This is nothing but your JFrog kind of stuff. It's only for your storage, not more than that one. Okay. But the similar kind, even Azure pipelines is having, it is retaining all your build outputs actually. Okay. The main advantage, the main purpose of this Azure artifacts is for your dependency management. Means for the developers. So they create the reusable components. Instead of sharing it in a file share or something, what happens? Some 4 people are using my reusable component. Okay. Now I made some changes to my component. If I have to tell you, I have to tell all you 3 people saying that I have a latest component, take the latest. I don't know whether you take it or not. Right? That's up to you, right? But when you use NuGet and Azure Artifacts, Azure Artifacts is proprietary to your, internally it uses NuGet actually. Okay, I'll keep it there, and I will ask the developers, the way you are using your NuGet packages, the system DLLs, in the same way you use my reusable component as well. So what happens, whenever I make some change to my reusable component, I update my Azure Artifacts on it. Whenever they build it, it will take the latest.
It's Maven.
Yeah, you can call it similar. Okay, different. Yeah, it's Maven for your dependency management Java. Okay, so for different languages, different types, but these are the best practices are applicable across the languages. It doesn't matter, right? If you take a whoops or design patterns, it doesn't vary from your programming language to programming language. It's only way how you implement. Okay, so we will look into all these things in our build pipeline. Okay. So let's not get into more things. Now you know what are all the tasks that you are going to implement as part of your pipeline. Let's get into some actionable things. So before getting into, I have this habit of doing it from a manual way and then going to the automation. So let's go to Visual Studio.
Hi,
Yes.
so this is Manoj.
Yeah, Manoj.
Actually, this NuGet, is it artifact repository? Is it for storing artifacts and for storing reusable components also?
Yes, so there are two purposes for your Azure Artifacts, which was not part of your VSTS. Okay, they included as part of your Azure DevOps. One, you keep your reusable components. Let us say your if it is a .NET is all your DLLs, right? You keep it there in the form of NuGet packages, and the developers from their project can refer to your reusable component the way they refer from the NuGet. I will show it here quickly. That will be easier as well. Okay, let me go ahead and I will not show how to create the artifacts now, but I will show you how it works. Okay, let's go and create a new project, and I'll go ahead and select ASP.NET web application MVC. I will say MVC. It doesn't matter what I take, right? So sorry guys. It's just a creation. I'll just keep it in the default directory where I kept my web application 6. And then what I'm going to do, so I don't want any configuration HTTPS. I'll set the MVC template, and I also want the templated version of my unit test cases. Okay, just create. Okay, as part of build pipeline, in a manual, what you do, you create a project and you write your code and then you build it. And after that, you see all your artifacts. If it is a Java, you will get Java files. If it is .NET, you will get DLLs or EXEs based on the project type what you select actually. Okay. So let me go ahead and show it to you because there are some other people who don't have the programming experience. So let's go to Solution Explorer. So where it is created, let me go, and I created two projects as part of my solution. One is my ASP.NET MVC, and then another one is test project, unit test cases. It gives some basic unit test cases. And then as I told you, all you need to worry about your package config and web config things, not any code as a DevOps engineer. Okay, let's go for the benefit of non-techies. Let's go and open the folder in the physical location. So these are the things, right? This is a web application 7 we just created, and these are all the files and folders what is in your Visual Studio IDE, and then there is a folder called bin. Right now, what you see is some system DLLs that were part of the references, right? You have these things. There are many DLLs here, but not all of them are available in your physical folder, because when you build it, it automatically take it from the NuGet repository. Basically, your Visual Studio is configured for the NuGet. Okay. If you want to see it how it is, you go to the tools. This is the easiest way. Okay, and go to your options, and you have the environment here. Let's go to your huh?
Open just to no, close this one. Open it.
No, we can open from here as well. You can right click and then NuGet Manager, manage NuGet packages. This is another way. Okay, I'm just trying to show you.
Okay.
Okay, because when I'm using Azure artifacts, right? Okay, now this is NuGet is configured automatically by the Visual Studio. So all my DLLs or reference DLLs is coming from here. But when I create my own Azure artifact, I need to give that URL as well. That will be there in your tools, and then here, right, you have the package source here, right? Right now it is showing nuget.rg something, some other thing. Visual Studio built-in packages that comes as part of your Visual Studio installation. And if you want to do any other thing, just click on configuration. So you can go from the options or you can go from here, and then you can go and add your Azure artifacts. So when I work with Azure artifacts, this is how I will come and configure. Okay. So all my reusable components will be displayed here, whatever is available in my Azure artifacts. Hope that will clarify your question, but we will talk more in detail when we work with the Azure artifacts. Okay, now in the bin folder, right, it was empty, right? And what is our project name? Web application 7. Okay, and you don't see our web application 7 DLL here, right? So because I haven't built my application, so when I build it, so you can go on many places. You can go and build the solution. You can click F6 or something. See, you can carefully observe this output window. Whatever is happening here, we will be configuring in the build pipeline, because these are the activities that happens in the background. Okay, the build is succeeded. Okay, and a new file is been created. New DLL is been created. If I go back here, you can see additional DLLs have been added because I run it, and whatever is being taken from the NuGet, they have downloaded, and my DLL is my web application 7.dll. So this is what basically going to deploy along with your web.config, etc. Okay. So internally it is using MS build. That is the beauty of your builds, right? I mean your IDEs. You don't need to configure. It is .NET, it takes MS build. If it is Java, it takes Maven, etc. So I'm not going to the step of CD. Let's not get into that one. Now let's get into our pipelines. So all you need to remember, Radhira, take care of something. Think about packages.config, think about web.config, and other DLLs. Okay, that's all you need to care about. So did I close my dev.azure.com? Let's go dev.azure.com. I haven't pushed it, right? Let me push it. Okay. So let me add it to the source control. Regist is I have few things running background, so I can easily click on this, add to source control, git. So now it's been added to the locally. Now I'm pushing it to my Azure repos, publish git repo. Since I already logged in, it taken it, and I'm not going to change the repository name. Let it be like that. But when you are working the production environments, your engagements, go with the naming convention. Naming convention is very important. Okay, now my code is available on my Azure DevOps path. That is web application 7. Let me scroll down. It's not. Sorry, probably I pushed it to my other organization. So you have this the same mistake we done last time. So I pushed it here because you see, right? The organization name here is Silicon ITSS. I need to change it. I did not do it. Okay. Let's not worry about. Let's create one more. Last time also we done the same mistake without changing that organization.
So in general, we can't delete that whatever was published and republish to a different source.
We can do it.
Okay.
We can
Yeah. Just
unbind it actually.
okay. All right. Thanks.
So whatever you push it to your whatever you are working with your pipelines or releases, right? Everything is, these are not immutable. You can delete them, you can update them. This is regular, the way you work with your, when you work with the TFS, you change the bindings, you remove the bindings, and then it will be out of your, out of your source control system like that. So we can do the same thing. Since we are working with the pipelines, I just don't want to spend another 10-15 minutes there. But somehow in future, I mean, we can do it. That's not a problem. It's hardly 5-10 minutes stuff.
Okay. Thank you.
So no problem. Let's go to Team Explorer. Okay, let me go here. Now I just change the name as well. Solution. Okay, it is, let me push it to my local currently. Let me commit, add to source control. Done. This is locally available now. Now let's go ahead and publish to my repo. Say sync. These are multiple ways you can do. Wherever you are, you will get the same option. Now let's go and select publish git repo. Now I'm not going to publish it immediately. Let me change the organization name. So I did not select this organization. Now let me change it to my other organization. And I'm not changing the repository name. That's it. Publish. Done. It's been published. Let me switch back to my current organization. And the name given is Azure Pipeline Lab. That's it. I'm not going to add any work items now because now the lab is the pipeline, right? But we will be applying some policies, like let's have. I mean, when you are doing the commit, right? Let's put a policy that some work item should be attached to that. Otherwise, your traceability will be missing. We will see that. For today, let's not do that. Okay. So the boards completed, repos completed. Now go to your builds. I'm not building a pipeline today, so we'll do it tomorrow. But let's have a quick look how it looks. Okay. So right now there is nothing, so you can create a new pipeline, guys. I'll suggest you go and play with your permissions. Okay. If you create another user and don't give a permission to create a pipeline, and come and check here whether you will be able to do. So you need to practice like this, otherwise you will forget. Okay, let's create a pipeline. Now this is what I'm saying. You can create your pipelines using ML or use a classic editor. I'll go with a classic editor, and these are the options what you see. You can work with a Bitbucket, GitHub, Git, and other Git means public GitHub. You can create a GitHub account, right? And then you can use them as well. Okay, and use the classic editor. It's very simple here. Okay, you have your since I selected Azure repo, it create. I mean it is populating my project, Azure DevOps project name, and the repositories. Okay, I have only one repository, and I have only master branch. If you have other branches, if it is a dev environment, you will have the dev branch and then you select it. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so here you have options. Either you can, if you are already an expert, you want to do on your, everything on your own, you can go ahead and create an empty project. But it doesn't make any sense, because when something is coming to you free of cost, right? Let's go and use it. You don't need to spend extra time. Okay. Now my application is of type MVC, ASP.NET application, right? So I have a various templates here. You have a hell lot of templates here, which is making your life easier. Okay. First, let's have this bootstrapping pipeline available, and we go and do our customization. Okay. I will take
Hello,
ASP.
this is Manoj. Sorry for interruption.
Yes.
So if I selected different project, different template like 100, so mismatching is going to be happen. No? So, since we have created ASP.NET application.
Yes, yes, it will mismatch, and you will see many errors. Patterns doesn't match, the project types are not found, etc. You can try that. Okay, but if that is the case, what I do, I'll create. So let us say by default, I mean by mistake, I created a separate one. You have two options: either you ignore this one, or you can go and delete all these tasks like this. You can remove the tasks and you can customize. So when you remove all these tasks, what happens? It will become your empty job. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
So let us say it's already created 6 tasks for you. You just need to go and configure. If you have to add all these 6 tasks, it may take 2 hours for you, because you need to go to each and every property of your task and do all this stuff, right? Okay. So these are the common tasks for any ASP.NET application will have. That's the reason it added all these common tasks. Now, in the preliminary stages, we will, tomorrow probably, from tomorrow we will check, we will talk about all these different things. Okay. All these different options available. And we also talk about these agent jobs. Okay, because you need to learn now itself, and then we talk about, so this is a NuGet. This is for your package management. We downloaded many packages when I build a solution from the Visual Studio, right? So when you check in that code, right, you will not have all that code in the bin code, whatever is there in the bin, right? You will not check in that bin into your repository, because that's not a good practice. Because whatever is automatically generated on my laptop is having my laptop profile, means my details, but your project should not be having my details or your details or someone. It should be having the server details. So the best practice is whatever is being automatically generated on your development environment, means on your laptops, should not be checked in into your source control. Only the logic and system stuff should be checked in. So people are lazy, right? I mean, we used to have this git ignore file, etc. We used to create it 5-6 years ago on our own. Now we want to improve. We want to improve the productivity, right? That's where all these companies came. Okay, this is the MVC project type, and this is the .git ignore file, and it contains already all the temporary stuff to be ignored, all the bin folders to be ignored. All these things are already available. If means 100% work is being done for you. If you want anything extra customization, which is not known to your MVC template, then just go to .git ignore file and add your own line. That's it. It's all about giving paths. Okay, I want to ignore all the files that are in the C drive. Then I'll go and add dot C drive, something. You will give that path. You can see that dot ignore file in your physical folder actually. Okay, you can verify it. So we will go and configure these things, and while we are doing it, we will do the Sonar Cube integration, and we'll implement whatever we seen in our slides. So once we implement all those, I think 7-8 tasks basically, I would say activities, then you know the complete CI pipeline implemented using Azure base. Guys, that's it for today. We'll start freshly tomorrow the pipeline creation, and we do the it takes 2-3 sessions more. Sometimes it may take 5, 6, 7 sessions as well, because sometimes when I connect to virtual machines, it may give me lag of 4 or 5 minutes or whatever it is, some network delays, or based on the questions what I get from the people as well. But not more than 7-8 sessions for this one. Okay, and sonar tube it takes another 2-3 sessions. Okay. Guys, that's it for today. If you have any doubts, we'll come to know. You will be learning all these things: variables, triggers, options, whatever you see on the portal, you will be implementing all these things.
Purna,
Hello, Purna. This is
Rakesh here.
Manoj.
Yeah, Manoj.
Hello.
Yeah,
Yes.
apart from this ASP.NET application, we have created a test project also, no? So will it contain unit test or any other test also? Only unit test?
So these test processes are unit test projects. Okay. So earlier, I mean, Visual Studio is having these built-in capabilities. It will create some built-in tests basically. Okay. Either I mean for all the code files what you have, it will create some very preliminary test cases to start with. Okay, uh, from there you can basically, I mean, you don't need to add all these things. It is a template, right? You can go ahead and add your own unit test cases. This is for a demonstration purpose. I mean, whether it is Visual Studio or whether it's Eclipse, it creates hello world kind of projects. From there, people will start to go ahead and do their development.
Here internally it will use MS Build. Is it right?
Yeah, internally, all .NET projects use MS Build internally.
In the same way, in the Eclipse, will it use Maven?
Yeah, that uses Maven. So when you install Eclipse, right, when you create a new project in your Eclipse, it internally using Maven.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Purna.
Yes.
Yeah. When we'll be using this the Python scripting in this pipeline part?
See, Python scripting or shell scripting, etc., is case to case. Okay, it's not a must and should. But if it comes to the Microsoft environment, mostly it is a PowerShell script, because you will be deploying it to the Azure virtual machines or your Windows virtual machines. Okay, see, Python scripting, it can be used to create some database management activities. You can do the ETL packaging, and you can change the environment configuration using Python scripts. Okay, there are a number of ways to do your task actually. One such way is using Python scripting. Other one is PowerShell, and there is a Bash scripting, which is a Unix scripting. So there are different ways to do it, but it varies from team to team. Let us say in some teams they have the Python scripting skill set. They use the Python script. In some teams they do have the PowerShell scripting skill set. They use the PowerShell scripting. But this is not a mandatory. So it all depends on the skill set available in that team.
When you are showing the templates, that I could see that there is one option like a Python in that templates. When that will be used?
We will not be using Python. We will be using PowerShell, which is included as part of our course, because Python scripting is again a different story. And mostly when you're, as I told you, right, Python, you can do it for the database management activities. You can create applications, and you can work with the servers. There are many aspects actually. And Python mostly will be used when you are working with the infrastructure DevOps work actually, not for the application DevOps.
Yeah.
You will
Thank you.
see hundreds of tasks in the pipeline, but we will be using some of them, and I will advise you to explore other things, because if you want to practice those things, even 1 year is not enough, and you probably will not be using them in your real time as well. It based on your the project what you are working on. Okay,
What
guys.
exactly this template will contain?
We will be talking about it, Manoj, in detail tomorrow, because from
Okay,
tomorrow all these will be lab sessions.
okay,
Each and
okay, okay.
every,
Thank you.
each and every task will be explained there. Okay.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Have a good day. We'll catch up tomorrow.
Right.